Time and time again, I really wanna fight for love. I can almost sense you will fall in love.
Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Today's guest is an indie rock multi-instrumentalist, singer-songwriter, and producer from Dallas, Texas. He's got a new album out right now called On Demand and a single that he put out right before that called 5 Foot Love. You need to go check him out. But before we start the show, please make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And on that note, please welcome Sam Cooper.
This is like my second time doing this ever, so I don't really know the
protocol.
I don't know the protocol. It's new for me.
Hey, that's okay, man. Honestly, this is a pretty chill podcast show, whatever you want to call it. It really works more like a conversation. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not going to be like spitfiring questions at you and shit like that, putting you on the spot.
I love that Paul McCartney album.
Oh, really?
I was talking with some friends about, I was just in Austin this past couple of days. Went to like a COVID safe house, I had some buddies out there and they all got rapid tests before I came down. And I get tested like twice a week for work. And one of them was like super anti the first McCartney album where he like plays, he plays all the instruments. The one with like Maybe I'm Amazed and everything. Which I didn't get. I love that one. And the second one, his new album, not so much.
You didn't like it?
I listened to it. It sounds crazy. It's like the mix is really weird. It's like really intense. It's very, in your face.
I kind of know what you mean. I was listening to it like the week it came out and I don't know. I mean, I really appreciated it. I felt like he didn't try to like sound modern. He like wasn't trying to sound like this modern pop star. Like I felt like,
that's
I guess
true. That's true.
I see what you mean by the mix though. It was a little strange, but I kind of got used to it as I listened to the whole thing. But I'll be honest, I haven't really gone back to it.
No, I didn't. I don't know. I just feel like they're, aging musicians, there comes a time when they don't need to be releasing anything anymore,
The hot
I feel
take
like
here.
the songwriting was not great,
There were a couple songs where they just sound like classic Paul, like doing the like, the English come for a cup of tea kind of music.
Exactly.
But I do love the Paul McCartney album. That's Ram. I think that's incredible. Shout out to my my roommate's brother who got that for me. I was like, dude, this is sick.
Are you in LA?
I am, yeah. Where in Texas are you?
I'm in Dallas.
Oh, cool.
Back at home currently, waiting everything out, but I go to school out there in Santa Clarita.
Oh, no way.
I go to Cal Arts out there and had been in LA the past 2 years. But I figured it would be the most reasonable sort of decision I could make was to come back home and just work here and save money because Dallas is insanely inexpensive and what am I gonna do? I don't know.
No, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, I haven't gotten the best. I haven't got a great feel for Los Angeles because I've been living so far out in the suburbs, and Santa Clarita is really just totally devoid of anything to do. It's like, like Sun City in like Arizona. It feels like that. It's real. It's just houses that were built like 10 years ago. Like I was living in a house that was built a year prior to us moving in last year, wall-to-wall carpet and everything. Ooh. It's a nightmare.
No character?
No, it was awful. It was so weird. I mean, it was affordable though, because it was like, you know, in this community where all the houses look the same. It wasn't too far from school, but I don't think I can do that again. You know, when I go back out there, I'm gonna have to at least live in somewhere in the valley, if not, like, I don't know. I don't even know where to be looking.
I used to live in the valley for a few years, and it's a good, affordable area with more to do, for sure.
Definitely.
I like it. Some people shit on it, but I was in North Hollywood. I don't really care about going back there anymore, but I liked Sherman Oaks. That was a nice place.
Of course, yeah. Ventura,
I used to live there.
You know, we'd go hang out down there. But that's such a drive from Santa Clarita, and everyone shits on the valley, but Santa Clarita is leagues worse. It is awful out there, man.
Damn.
That's like the most Republican little pocket of LA too, so
That's
it kind
true.
of feels like being
It is.
in Dallas a little
In the
bit.
suburbs.
Yeah.
So where you are right now in your bedroom, is this where you recorded your album On Demand?
I recorded a good chunk of it. I can like run through it, but sort of I don't have a great setup. I'm working on like a laptop. I don't even have a desk in my room. So I've been using like a fold out TV tray or putting my laptop up here. Got like I lucked out and found this organ for like $80, you know, and it's been great, but I don't use it nearly enough. I use it as a table more than anything else. But I sort of had like a roving studio where I just take my laptop and my one microphone and go record what I needed. A lot of the instruments were borrowed from friends, or I recorded at chunks of songs at friends' houses and would come back here. But like a handful of tracks were like Rasputia and New Shoe Smell were done here in like a day each.
So did you record the drums right there in your room?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
But I have one mic, so I'll do like a reference track for drums first, and like for a couple of those songs, like I didn't use like a click track or anything on New Shoe Smell because I sort of wanted it to feel looser, you know, and as I don't know, I want to, you know, do a cool little rock song.
It's got kind of a shoegazy feel to it.
Yeah.
It really reminds me of like either My Bloody Valentine or Deer Hunter. Like
certainly
one of their tracks.
But I'd do a reference track, and then I'd go back and put the microphone like right up to whatever drum I needed and try to play, you know, as closely in sync as I am able to.
So you would go one drum at a time?
One drum at a time, and then mixed it, and that's what I've been doing recently, because for whatever reason, like, it's really difficult I have trouble justifying spending money on any sort of musical equipment. Even though, like, I like to do this sort of thing for fun, I just can't. I don't know why. I'm just like, $100, $200. No, I'm not. You know, even if it's like a small thing. I just bought MIDI cables for the first time. I hadn't had them. I never used them. Yeah.
No, that's a great mentality to have. Honestly, I've been the opposite, where you go down the rabbit hole of buying all this gear because you think you need it, and you realize at a certain point you're just kind of like putting your like all these obstacles in front of you.
Oh yeah.
Instead of focusing on songwriting or, you know, unique production. That's cool to hear about your drums, because I love the sound of your drums on your song, especially especially Rasputia and Gleamer. I just feel like they all they have this.
That wasn't my kit on Gleamer. I recorded that song at 3 different people's houses. And just, like, had to take my laptop around with me and set up. But the drum kit, I did MIDI drums. I had some samples from somewhere, and then one mic'd me playing over it, and tried to mix it so the drums I recorded and the electronic drums are indistinguishable from each other. So it sounds like a real kit.
It's kind of a hybrid.
Yeah. Well, half of it is, yeah.
That's really cool.
Well, thank you. Yeah, but I have awful gear. I have really I really don't have a great setup. I lucked out with the organ. That's the one thing. And I just spent the most money I ever have on a keyboard on a whim because I was feeling crazy being trapped here in Dallas.
Nice. What keyboard did you
I
get?
got a Roland D50, and I've been trying to figure out how to program it because it's like, that and the DX7 use these little cartridges, and you have to like
Okay. Weird.
basically do all this weird programming stuff. But there's it's all buttons. It's like you're fiddling with like a numpad.
Interesting.
Which is fun,
So
but
is
it's
it,
definitely a convoluted, weird keyboard. So it's been, taking up a lot of my time recently, and I've been trying to, get proficient with that sort of thing.
that's kind of cool to get familiar with a new piece of gear. Like that's it's almost like a lovely time. You're like, oh, like I'm gonna put some love into this
Exactly.
keyboard and try to figure out.
I don't do that nearly enough because I started when I started recording music. I was only doing electronic stuff, but I've never really. The only programmable synthesizer I ever owned was I have like an MS-20 Mini, the like Korg monophonic one, but then I've got like 5 like dinky like Casio tone like baby keyboards that I'll just like run through my computer, and like all this software synths that I never paid for. That's pretty much like all I know. So I wanted to sit down and be adamant about learning how to use a piece of hardware.
Yeah, good for you. That's interesting. You say you started out with electronic music more, because when I was listening to the album, I was just thinking like there's so many genres going on. The production varies between each song. You have like 8-minute long electronic dance tracks right next to more of like a Cocteau Twins pop Strokes vibe or something.
Yeah.
Was there any point in the process of doing this that you were like worried about the cohesion of it all, or did you just feel like this is all perfect together?
I wanted to put out a sort of grab bag for this initial release because I don't know it took me a really long time to sort of organize everything and get this album put together. And I had been doing mock-ups for like cover art and like track listing like for like over a year prior to actually putting it out, and like took a lot of songs off, put new stuff on like that I recorded this year. Some of the tracks are super old, and like when I made them, I like told made a mental note like you've put X number of hours into trying to get this sounding the way you want it to. So once you put out like any sort of album or like full length release, like this has to be on it, So there's a couple of songs that I don't love that are on the album, but I, was very, I told myself I had to include as part of it. And, I mean, down the line, I don't know when the next time I'll put out another album will be, because I self-released this one. And the goal is sort of to just, for when I'm back out at school and everything, like, if it ever comes up, if I ever have any sort of opportunity comes up and someone's like, oh, you do music, where can I hear your stuff? I'd be like, yeah, all these songs are available on streaming now, because I used to only have stuff on like Bandcamp and SoundCloud, but I don't keep up with that. So now I've got just a sort of mixed bag of tracks that I think sort of exhibit all the facets of what I'm interested in, for some of them,
Yeah, it's a great debut album to have because it doesn't put you in a corner yet.
Yeah. I want to do like themed releases down the line. Yeah. I really want to do I've been listening to like so much easy listening music, and I'm trying to get better at writing sheet music because I didn't know how to do that prior to going to college. But I want to write stuff like like Scott Walker's like 60s albums.
I just started listening to him.
Oh my god, he's like one of my favorites. I want to write stuff like with super lush like orchestration behind it. I'm refraining from saying like wall of sound because like Phil Spector died, and
I was just about to say the wall of sound.
Yeah.
I didn't know he killed a guy. Like I had no idea until.
Was it a guy? I thought it was a woman.
I have no idea. Like I said, I think
he killed a woman. He like met the story. He like met this woman one night and killed her within like an hour of meeting her.
Jesus
Wild.
Christ.
I need to look into it though because I don't really know the full story either.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
I want to
wild.
do easy listening crooner music at some point. Do an album of that, and I really want to do an album of MIDI Renaissance music. Because I've been trying to listen to more, early music, like pre-Baroque, I watched this movie recently.
Very early.
Yeah. But I don't want to do it in, like, a kitschy sort of way that's already been done. I don't want it to be like, oh, this is funny. I want it to be like, this is I don't know.
Like a recontextualized version of it.
Yeah. I don't want it to take itself too seriously. But I just watched this movie called, have you heard of Merlin's Shop of Mystical Wonders? Oh my, the soundtrack to this movie, it's like this direct to tape release. It's from like 96. And it's basically like Merlin from the King Arthur story runs like a shop, like a toy store somewhere in like a small town in Northern California, and it's got all these shots of him like walking through they filmed it in the valley, like you can see like North
this
Hills.
Isn't like this isn't animated.
No, this is live action.
Oh,
they
God.
got a guy dressed up like Merlin, like walking through like parts of like wherever in the valley. It's so cool, and the music in the background is all synth, like mysterious Renaissance sounding music. I want to do that sort of thing. I haven't been able to find the soundtrack online though.
I think I could see you doing a Wizard soundtrack in North Hollywood or wherever it was.
It'd be fun.
I agree. When I was listening to 5 Foot Love, which is the single you put out right before the album, I was just kind of blown away at the sounds you use and how you balance them and like make them all work together. Is there anybody that you look up to that has great sound choice or sound design? Because I'm just like trying to connect what you're doing to someone, and I'm like, this shit is just out there.
That's a funny track. I'm trying to put more Hanna-Barbera sound effects into my songs because I think it's just funny sounding. And like
Hanna-Barbera.
Hanna-Barbera, like
Hanna-Barbera.
They did Scooby-Doo, like the animation company. They have this bank of sound effects, like all these weird little slapstick sounds that I think are so funny. Threw some of that in there. I threw some sounds from like the Wii U menu in there.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to do all these. I wanted to call back to media. I think is like funny, and I don't. I'm sure there's a plethora of people who have done that already. I mean, it's nothing new, but I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. But as far as like the drums go and trying to, keep like a real assortment of drums in there, like I've always loved Square Pusher, and like he's always been all the Warp Records stuff, like the late 90s stuff especially, and early 2000s Warp Records stuff where they get really weird and they're all using like computer sequencers and like that weird sort of skittering drum stuff that like Aphex Twin and Square Pusher will do.
Yeah, Aphex Twin was the one I thought of.
Yeah. That's I've always tried to. I mean, early on, I very much was trying to closely emulate those guys, but it never really sounded like them because I was also trying to learn how to use Logic on it, like use a computer.
Right.
But yeah, there's probably Square Pusher, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't listened to as much of him as I probably should, but
It was so good.
with Logic, it's probably a good transition into the last five here, where I'm just going to ask you five quick questions, and then we'll be done.
Oh,
But the first one was Logic or Ableton. So I guess the answer is Logic.
I'm using Logic Express 9, which is the old version that looks like Microsoft Excel.
Oh, funny.
And I refuse to update my computer because I'm stubborn, and I think the new version of Logic looks like GarageBand.
Yeah, it does.
I have this workflow in Logic. I've been using this version since I was 13, and I'm running like I'm running like OS X 10.9, like, which is like what they had in 2014. Because if I update it any, like, past this point, I won't be able to use Logic 9 anymore. That also means I can't use like a ton of websites, because Google Chrome like doesn't support this update. That's fine by me. But I did.
You're a man of principle.
Yeah, I did get Ableton though, and I'm trying to use it more. But I end up, I'll start an idea in Ableton, or I'll make like loops in Ableton and bounce it over to Logic, because that's where I feel more comfortable with like sequencing a song start to end. But I bounce stuff over, you know.
That's a good process. I think it's smart if you can kind of do a hybrid of the two, because they both have their strengths.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So question number 2 is, what do you think is a perfect album front to back?
My go-to answer is Hejira by Joni Mitchell. That's been my favorite. Some people say Hejira. I don't know how it's pronounced.
I am not the one to ask. I cannot say I've listened to a lot of Joni Mitchell.
I've listened to... Joni Mitchell is like my favorite songwriter. I'd say that.
You can't go wrong.
What
really.
else? What else? Scott Walker's Scott 4 by Scott Walker is incredible.
You know, the one album I actually listened to all the way through was like the album after that one that came out like 10 years later.
Oh, Climate of Hunter?
Yeah.
That one's cool. There's some really cool songs in there.
Very
Let me
strange.
think.
I really liked it though.
What is like a perfect... Oh, I don't know. I should put a list. I should have a list of this like on hand. I was thinking of
like
doing
perfect
that recently.
tens.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably, I mean, the Joni Mitchell one is definitely a go-to. Because I listen to the album when I go to sleep, and have for like 3 years. It's like really incredible.
Wow.
I don't know. I'll have to...
Hey, we could just leave it at 1, and if you think of something as it goes on, you can shout it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, question number 3 is, who's your dream artist or producer to work with?
I'd honestly be intimidated to work with a lot of the people I listen to, I think. So
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know who I'd feel comfortable working with, because I'm like kind of ass at collaborating, like as is. I feel like everyone has such a different approach to recording music, and I don't know. I sort of, I'm using this like defunct program to record on. So like, no, I'll pull it up like I'm recording with someone, and like no one even knows like how to approach it. So I have to do all of that. I don't know.
Let's say remove all those kinds of barriers. Just somebody who you think your sonics would meld together very well with.
Ah, shit. I've been listening to a lot of Yellow Magic Orchestra recently.
Are they kind of an older
They were
band?
like, yeah, they were together late 70s, early 80s, but
the name sounds familiar.
yeah, one of their members, I mean, I listen to all of them, but one of the members, Hiromi Hosono, he's this old dude now, and he'll still put out music, but recently he's been recording like Americana tracks, like old American like boogie woogie standards, and putting that out. But like in the 90s he was doing these weird like almost Autechre-esque sort of electronic like pieces, and then in the 80s he was doing like some synth pop stuff, and in the 70s he was doing like folk rock. He was like in a folk rock band. His stuff is all over the place. He's all over the place, and has been, I don't know. These guys, all three of the members of Yellow Magic Orchestra, they have insane discographies that I'm sort of digging through right now, and you know, I haven't been let down so far. So I'd say, you know, maybe that guy.
Nice. Yellow Magic Orchestra. I'll have to go actually check it out.
Yeah, please. They're so good.
There was a few people I thought of that I thought would be interesting if you collabed with them sometime in the future. Zach Valaire was one. I don't know if you know him. He has a song called I'm trying to think of like what the big hit would be.
I feel like I recognize this guy.
Yeah, ginger kid, kind of awkward looking, glasses. He's so funny, but he's really, really good.
Zach Valaire. Yeah, why am I familiar with? He's big. He's a big guy.
He's up there. So is The
Yeah.
Garden. I feel like I could see you with The Garden.
Yeah,
Because
I was
they're
told
all
yeah,
over the place.
I was listening to them a lot a couple years ago when I first went out to college, because like everyone in, you know, LA was super like big into The Garden when I went out there. We were supposed to see them, like a group of friends and I, but then the concert got canceled because of COVID. This would have been like last summer.
Right.
But yeah, I like their stuff. It's super varied. I like they do some crazy callbacks to like 90s electronic music, and they'll throw weird break beats in there.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I like the most that they do, is the production side of it.
Yeah, they have two separate projects too, the two guys, and those are really
Yeah.
good. I don't know if you've heard Puzzle and and Enjoy. That's the other one.
Enjoy. That's
I really like Enjoy.
He did the tree. What is it? Sessions
Yes.
with a nasty old tree or something. I like the Vape Smoke song on that album.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I like that one. Yeah, I've been listening. I like that.
It's just, it does sound like an old 90s like theme song to like a TV show.
I love the drums they use. I swear they're, you know, ripping them from like a Casio like sound bank, like baby keyboard. I love that
Yeah,
stuff.
it's a great sound. All right, question number 4 is what's on your musical rotation right now?
Okay. I gotta pull up a playlist.
That's what everyone's got to do.
Everybody's
Everybody's like, let me check my Spotify.
Yeah. See, the most recent song I put in the playlist, I have like a sleep playlist and a day playlist at
Right.
any given time. The most recent song I put in here is My Bloody Valentine one.
Ooh, which one?
It's called She Loves You No Less. It's on the Ecstasy EP they did before Isn't Anything. But I've been listening to Dusty Springfield recently, and just like this album she's got called The Look of Love, because she has a song on there called what is it? I can't wait I can't wait until I see my baby's face. That Saint Etienne sampled in this song called Nothing Can Stop Us in like the early 90s, and I've got that CD in my car, so it's like been listening to both of them. And
That's
I've been getting into Kate Bush like again, because I was trying to watch all these. I just watched Excalibur, and I'm trying to like get into like fantasy movies right now. And I don't know, for whatever reason, she's got this album called Never Forever, and the album art is like this really insane illustration of like her standing on, I don't know what she's standing on, like a boulder or some shit. And there's like all these like ghouls and I don't know, you gotta look up the album art. It's so
Yeah, I'll
great.
check
Like
it out.
all these creatures like coming out from under her dress, and for whatever reason I just associate that with like, you know, Excalibur and the Dark Crystal. I feel like there's this sort of early 80s fantasy thing in there. So I was listening to that a lot, and I think her name is pronounced Elis Regina. I don't know. She's a Brazilian woman. Her 70s stuff is very cool.
Nice. You're all over the place. You have so many different genres. It makes sense.
Yeah. I like everything. Yeah. And I've been listening to a lot of Lester Young recently. His album with Oscar Peterson. This is like old people.
My roommate loves Oscar Peterson. We'll play him like when we're making dinner because it's just very like chill out music.
Right, it's so good. It's
feel good.
I love it. It's digestible, subtle bebop. I like that.
Digestible, subtle bebop.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, well, let's go to the last question here, and then we'll be all wrapped up.
All right.
Number 5 is, what's your favorite decade of music?
Probably 70s music.
Yeah, so you didn't really have any hard time picking that.
I was trying to put a playlist together of my favorite songs, like, ever. Recently, where if I listen to it, I'm immediately just like, oh, it hits like a sentimental spot, and I'm like, oh, I love that, yada yada. But I scrolled through this playlist, and I've got an inordinate number of songs from the 70s, like more than any other decade. I only have like 2 songs that came out in the last 10 years.
Wow.
Which is like kind of embarrassing. Because I don't want to be one of those, like, I
old
need
music is so much better.
Yeah, I don't want to be one of those guys. I feel like I involuntarily am. I need someone to keep me updated with what's relevant in music now, because I'm really, really out of touch, I think.
Well, there's so much to go through in the olden days that, like, if you're looking for new music, there is a lot, but it's also like there's a cap at some point. But if you go back, you can, there's thousands and thousands of albums that are probably could be your favorites that you just don't know because you haven't deep dive enough.
Exactly. A lot of the time when I listen to new stuff, for whatever reason, I just feel like, I don't know, I don't mean to, but I think of these people as like, oh, maybe this is like, I'm listening to their music, and like I'm trying to analyze like what their influences are, and thinking of them more as like not like a peer, but like someone who's still actively working and trying to find what sounds they're attracted to. And I hear this stuff, and I'm like, oh, maybe they're trying to, I hear this, I bet they like that, I bet they like this thing. But then if I'm listening to stuff, I'm trying to get into 40s music right now. Because I don't know I don't know what these people were influenced by. Gershwin? I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good exercise though to do that. I'll say that for me personally, like, that's a skill that I've had to really hone, because when I'm listening to people like you or any of the artists I'm going to interview, I'm always curious. I'm like, well, what do they listen to? And what am I hearing? That's why when I was listening to your album, I was just like, what the fuck does this guy listen to? Because he is like truly like each song is could be something on a completely different album. And yet they do all work together, which is just so cool.
Yeah, I could find, I swear at one point, I made a playlist. This might take me a minute to find, so I don't know if you'd want to save this for...
You can send it to me after the interview, honestly. Yeah. Because I am curious.
At one point, I think I made a playlist when I was still, like, early on when I was trying to piece together on demand. I think I made a playlist where I'd include one song that I thought inspired the sound of a song on the album. So, I
could
really send that your way if that makes the, the picture a little more clear.
Yeah, I would love to see that. That's something I would do, and I would be like, am I crazy for doing something like this?
No, I'm really crazy about organizing stuff like that. I've got
That's so cool. Yeah, please send it to me. But that's probably our time here on that note. Sam Cooper, everybody needs to go check out your new album On Demand, which came out Christmas 2020.
Christmas.
It's such a ride. I love it. Great album. And also 5 Foot Love, which was the single that came out right before. Sam Cooper, thanks again for talking with me. I really appreciate it. It was a great time. Yeah, and I look forward to seeing that playlist.
All right, I'll look for it. I don't know. If I can't find anything, I'll make a new one.
Oh, there you go. Even better.
All
Awesome.
right, cool.
Thanks,
Thank
Sam.
you so much.
Yeah, man. I'll talk to you later. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and you can even leave a comment down below to let me know who you're listening to. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.